A 9-month-old sits on the floor, and when you say the word ball, not pointing, not reaching, just saying the word, their eyes move immediately, deliberately, across the room to where the ball is sitting on the shelf. You notice it, and you feel something warm and a little startled. They understood. Not a gesture, not a tone, not context. The word. A child who cannot form a single sentence, who will not say their first word for another 3 months, just demonstrated that language is already living inside them fully enough to navigate the world by. You assume this is early language acquisition, a first fragile step, the beginning of a long climb toward comprehension. But researchers who study early cognition have spent years trying to understand what this looks like from inside the baby's mind. And what they found doesn't just change how you see babies, it changes how you understand the earliest form of human consciousness. The standard developmental account holds that comprehension follows exposure, that babies accumulate enough pairings of word and object over enough repetitions that a loose association eventually forms, and understanding arrives gradually, statistically, through sheer accumulated experience. The word ball gets said near the ball enough times that the two become linked. This makes intuitive sense. It mirrors how adults learn vocabulary in a foreign language. Repetition builds trace. Trace builds recognition. Recognition eventually becomes knowledge. Here's the problem with that theory. In 2012, a team at the University of Pennsylvania, led by Elika Bergelson, published a study that tested comprehension in infants as young as 6 months old, well before any developmental model predicted true word understanding was possibly. Using eye tracking to measure where babies looked when they heard familiar words like mouth, hand, apple, and juice, the researchers found that 6-month-olds looked reliably and significantly toward the correct object, not sometimes, consistently, across subjects, across word categories, across contexts. At 6 months, before most babies can sit up unassisted, a child already knows what dozens of words mean. The climb toward language doesn't begin where anyone thought it did. To understand what the pre-verbal baby actually holds inside their mind, you have to abandon the idea that language comprehension is built from words. It is built from patterns in sound that carry meaning before the sounds themselves are learned. Research from the University of Washington's Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences, conducted by Patricia Kuhl and published across a series of studies between 2010 and 2014, it demonstrated that infants are not passive receivers of language input. They are active statistical analysts. By 6 months, a baby has already mapped the phonetic landscape of their native language with a precision that exceeds most adult second language learners. They have cataloged which sound distinctions their language uses and which it ignores. They have built a working model of the sonic architecture of speech that is so finely tuned that it begins to close off sensitivity to foreign language contrasts, not from ignorance, but from efficiency. The brain sharpening its tools for the particular language it is going to need. Your baby is not learning language. Your baby is already speaking it internally, in the grammar of sound, months before producing a word. But there is a second layer, and it goes deeper than phonetics. A 2017 study from Harvard's Laboratory for Developmental Studies found that infants between 10 and 12 months old do not merely understand words as labels, they understand words in syntactic context. When researchers presented babies with sentences containing a familiar noun in either a grammatically expected or unexpected position, infants looked longer at the unexpected placement, the classic marker of violated expectation in infant research. They were not just recognizing the word, they were tracking its role in a structure. They understood something about grammar before they had ever produced a grammatical sentence. Not absorbing vocabulary, parsing the architecture of meaning itself. What this reveals about the baby's inner experience is this: the pre-verbal infant is not living in a world of raw, unlabeled sensation waiting to be named. They are living in a world already richly organized by linguistic structure, where things have categories, where categories have relationships, where words carry not just identity but position, function, and expectation. When a 9-month-old hears your voice, they are not processing a sound. They are processing a structured signal inside a framework they have spent the better part of a year constructing in silence, not waiting for language to arrive, living inside its architecture already. But here's where it gets even stranger. The comprehension that develops before speech is not merely a precursor to language, it appears to shape the emotional and social world of the infant in ways that persist long after the first words arrive. A 2019 longitudinal study from the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences tracked infants from 8 months through age 3, measuring both the depth of pre-verbal comprehension and later social cognitive development. The researchers found that the richness of an infant's pre-verbal understanding, how many words they knew, how accurately they tracked grammatical structure before speaking, predicted not just vocabulary size at age 3, but theory of mind development. The ability to understand that other people have beliefs, intentions, and perspectives different from one's own. What this means is that the silent period before speech is not a waiting room. It is the room where the most consequential cognitive work of early childhood is done. The baby who sits quietly listening, eyes moving across the room at the sound of a word, is not on the threshold of language. They are already inside it, and the understanding they are building there is assembling not just the capacity to speak, but the capacity to understand that other minds speak from places different from their own. The first word is not the beginning of language. It is the moment language finally becomes visible. So the next time you see a baby's eyes move across the room at the sound of a word before they can say anything back, before you even know for certain they heard you, remember what's actually happening inside that mind. They have been listening since before you knew they were listening. They have been building a map of meaning that you cannot see, in a language they cannot yet speak, from materials you thought they hadn't found yet. A pre-verbal baby is not a person waiting to become a thinker. They are a thinker who has not yet found a way to let you know. What word did you first realize your baby understood, and when did you notice? Tell me in the comments, because the answer might be earlier than you expect.